Show up here. Hey, hey.
Hello.
I gotta get one of those microphones, man.
One of these?
Pro.
Say this was a treat to myself over the summer because my other microphones were okay, but they were cheap. So this is the fanciest one I own now.
And it makes your voice sound so silky.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's got. I don't want to spin it around because it's gonna be a pain in the ass to put back. But it's got like little filter options built in that you switch, and then I've got the close talk recommended pop filter installed, so you can switch it out. There's a smaller one.
How much did that arm cost, Matt?
The arm, I got the fancier one because it's got the XLR cable is like embedded in the arm, and it like screws into my desk. So this one was more than I would normally pay if I didn't have a gift card. It was about $100.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I say cost an arm and a leg.
Ha. No, I would recommend getting like the cheaper $30 ones and just again tape like strapping your cable to it to manage it. This again, I had a gift card to a place, so I,
Yeah, I'm having issues with my interface, so like I can't even.
yeah,
If you buy a new computer, none of your stuff will work with it.
I, I know the feeling. I will say to anyone that this mic is the Rode SM7B. If you get it, you're gonna have to get some other kind of preamp before it goes into your system. I have a Cloud Lifter CL1 because it's just a low output thing. So when you plug it in, like you just won't be able to hear anything pretty much. Um,
Huh.
so you need
That's
something to
weird.
it's one of those things where it's apparently common knowledge, but they don't actually put that information on places where you buy the site, buy the stuff on the websites. So I got it and got it hooked up and was like, oh, well.
I mean, is that just because of the type of microphone?
Yeah, it's a what's a dynamic low Z, so it's just low output voltage.
The
So you just
low
need,
Z is what, because dynamic microphones usually don't
yeah,
need like special.
they normally don't, but just because it's a low voltage one, it does.
Man, they got you.
They did.
Got you with that one.
All right, y'all. Well, I suppose we may as well get started as we have a couple more people maybe trickling in. Um, so today we have what's basically going to be a workshop for us to go through, and we should share the slides. Yeah, we do. I got one for you. we're going to have the slides that we'll show set up and show as well. We've got 2 links for you guys to.
Jesse, this is a quick question. Are we
Yeah.
going to record these?
Oh yes,
That would be a really good idea.
yes.
Yes,
We have recorded some of these, so let's do this one.
Yeah, we'll get this one, and then because I'm going to be showing people how to. Because I'm going to be showing people how to stream things to YouTube, I'll be streaming it to my YouTube channel, so it'll be backed up there as well.
There we go. All right, everybody. I guess we can go ahead and get started. If you do take a look at the OBS presentation slides, I suppose, Matthew, why don't you go ahead and share it since you're going to be kind of first.
All right.
There's some links on there. If you haven't downloaded OBS Studio before and you want to participate, I would highly recommend it because it is incredibly simple. Get rolling. You guys want to download it, run into your problems, and ask some questions now.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to set it up like this to start with. So, yes, I got the slides here, and if you, again, on that second one, there's a link right here. It's the OBS. It's open broadcasting software or studio, one of the two. But it's a freeware software, and it can essentially be used to stream almost whatever you want to whatever source you decide, as well as recording videos as well. So yeah, definitely recommend, even if you don't follow along, go ahead and give it a download because it's not going to cost you later. And then if you want to test things out with us, you can. If you have a Twitch or a YouTube account, you can go to those and try some of these. All right, all right, and that's again pretty much what I just said. The reason people are interested in this is again, people like to share videos of them gaming. It might be a performance piece, more in the art world. It could be a teacher doing a lesson. It could be just about anything. And people like to stream it out, have their community watch it in real time, respond to it, or save the videos for after the fact. And this software that we're going to go through just makes that super easy and manageable. And it's you can customize just about any aspect that you want in it. And we'll go through some of the more common and popular ones. But yeah, you can. Sorry, go ahead.
Out of curiosity, how many of you guys have done streaming before, and specifically using OBS or anything else? I actually can't see everyone.
Yeah, I've done a lot of like video recording asynchronously.
Yeah, I personally use this for that as well. I'll like stream the videos so they get that kind of live lecture kind of feel to it, but then it saves them somewhere else. And I'll show you how you can use this software to record all of your setups as well. So.
I used Siphon to pass stuff from one program to another, which recently didn't work, and I've found that OBS might be a solution for what I was trying to do, but I didn't have enough time to do it.
Yeah, I heard that it stopped around. It was 10:14 or something like that. I heard it was fixed again, Siphon, but I haven't used it since then. We can check it out.
For sure. All right. Well, as I was saying again, people stream this for tons of stuff, and if they become popular, you can generate ad revenue or people can sponsor your videos. I'm not one of those people that's popular enough, so I don't know exactly how that works. But I know it can be done. There we go. All right, so if you're going along in the software and you've kind of downloaded some things, I'm actually going to shortly change up the view of exactly what's on screen. But OBS can compile a ton of different sources for you to arrange and manipulate and set up for however you need before streaming it out to whatever you want to set up. So some of the more common ones I'll use, if you can set up videos and images, display captures, so like whatever's on your screen. You can collect audio from different places, like microphones or from your computer directly. You can get the output from different applications and windows or pull up specific web pages as long as you have the URL. As I mentioned, these can all be arranged however you want, layered, processed in a ton of different ways. And you can utilize what's called filters that we'll go through in order to do, I'll start off with just some video and image processing and color manipulation. So real quick, I'm going just to change what I am screen sharing. So 1 second. Desktop 2. All right. So you should all be seeing this screen here, and I have OBS pulled up. So you should see kind of me in the top left corner. Just making sure everyone can see that. Cool. All right. Cool. So this is kind of the OBS workflow. And you've got this kind of screen in the middle that by default, when you open it up, is just black. And this is kind of your work area where whatever you put in this screen and however it looks here, this is what gets streamed out to somewhere or gets recorded and saved to your computer. And the way you can put these elements on here is right under sources, which you can see at the bottom. You just click this and you hit add there, and you can see like on the slides, this list of every possible thing that you can add. In this case, I'm going to add a display capture right now. So this is going to bring up this menu, and you can either make a new source or utilize ones that you've used in the past. They all get saved here. So if you want to utilize the same thing, like say for this display capture, if you only have 1 or 2 monitors, you don't need to make a new version of this every time. You can just say add existing. And I think it's going to be this one. We're going to find out. Yes, it is. And it will pull it up right here. By default, this is really big. So I'm just going to resize this real quick. Make it easier to see. So you can kind of click and drag and resize these things and move them all around. I'm going to make this be, I won't be quite as big as the background. I'll go about that big. I'll bring that back up to presenting. But you'll notice that it's now kind of covering up my stuff. My image here, if I move this down, is covering up some of my text. Under these sources, when you start adding multiple ones, the order is important. So whatever is at the bottom of the list is going to be at the bottom of the pile right here. So if I wanted to make this be my background, you'd have to click and drag it anything else. So I'm just going to set that over here. All right. So again, that's how you can go up and set. So whatever is appearing on my my other monitor here is now on my OBS feed. So that's how you can set that up. All right. So you have that there. A few other common ones that I've used. There's text right here, which you can just hit, just add text. You can call it whatever you want. And then it pulls this up, and you can, again, select all kinds of fonts and sizes, things like that, and then type out whatever you want right there, and boom, you have some text. And you can display that just, again, however you want. It depends on what you're wanting to do. I'm going to go ahead and hide this, though, because it's kind of in the way. and you can just hide all of these sources just by clicking this little eye icon, and it's there. So it'll still be technically in the scene, it just won't be rendered. All right, so that's how you can display text. You'll notice it defaulted to white, but you can adjust things with the color by the use of a filter. So to use a filter on an object, I'll go not to that one. You can select it. I'm going to go to this one, and if you just control click or right click, you get this list of things you can play around with. And if you go properties, brings up that window that came up when we were making the source, but right above that is filters, and specifically to change the color, you would need the color correction filter, and you can adjust all of these things, but you can just select the color, and it brings up all this. So you can either use some basic ones or set a custom color, and it will change things here. So if I wanted to make this hot pink, you just do that, and it applies the thing. There's other stuff as well you can affect. The most ones I've used, again, are these kind of color corrections, things like that. But a fun one to do is scroll. Just to show that, so I'll add scroll into here. So you can bring this in, and you can start having your stuff scroll just however you want. It's just a fun little graphic thing to bring in, to bring some interest to whatever you're doing. All right, I'm going to hide this because that will get distracting. At the very least for me. I don't know about you. So we have that there. Let's see, what else am I missing? So for audio, audio works a little bit differently. And what we can do with that one, you'll notice I have this audio mixer right here. And at this point I have two sources. The first one being my microphone right here, and then I have the computer audio. You'll see that they are also listed in the sources right here. Pretty much anything that is an input to OBS is a source. So since I'm...
Matt, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, I'm getting mic signal, but I don't have that listed in my sources. Is that like... It says mic/aux.
Yes, so there are
Is that
some...
something that got set up automatically?
Yeah, there are some bits that get set up. I personally hide those and set up my own personal ones, which I'm going to show you all how to do, just so I can, set up all my settings and have it, make sure everything is going through the right place the right way. But there are some default ones that come set up once you open it.
So I could delete this one that says mic/aux?
Well, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
So you can remove it from your scene, and we'll talk about scenes later. But every audio track that you make, essentially, it's saved into OBS, and you can't delete it. You can just remove it from your setup, which I personally think is a little annoying. I would prefer to get rid of the old ones I know I'm not using anymore. But I suppose if you can always pull back to another setting. But to go about that, it's just like before. You would add a source, and it would just be audio input capture specifically. I'll go ahead and add this one, and you can select again ones you've used before. I'm just going to make a default one, and then you can pick a source, and this is where the audio comes in from. So depending on what you have plugged into your computer as an audio input, you may have different options right here. I'm just going to I'll put this to built-in microphone for now. Hopefully I don't get a bunch of feedback or anything, but you'll notice that now this is appearing right here in the audio mixer, which by default these are horizontal. You can set them to vertical if you really want. It just looks like that. I go back and forth to what I prefer, but that is an option. But we have these three tracks here. You have a few options just by the default. You can up or down. You can mute it. Again, under settings, you can go to properties and change what the input is. But if you'll notice when I clicked here, you also have advanced audio properties. So advanced audio properties. This is essentially every have in all of my scenes here. If you unclick this button here, you can see every other mic source, and then just inactive means it's not being used in any scenes. So again, they don't really completely go away, but you can pull them up whenever you want. And you can do some basic things right here. You can set it to be a mono or a stereo recording. So if I'm clicking this one and make it off there, you can see now computer audio. I have this set up so that my microphone is on the first channel, and then whatever sound comes out of my computer would be on the second channel. But for streaming, unless I need stereo, I tend to set it to mono, just to avoid if someone's listening to something in headphones, it's all on one side. You can adjust the panning balance if you have multiple microphones, as well as the sync offset. So if you're noticing that your video and your audio are off, you can add delays. I guess you can go, or negative kind of feed forwards to your audio in order to get it to sync up with the video. That kind of just depends on how much streaming between different things you have, is whether or not you'd want to use that. Since all my stuff is local, I haven't had much use for the sync offset in my personal setups, but that is something you can do there. One thing that is important with audio, just setting it up, you have these drop-down menus here for monitoring, and I personally set them to monitor off, but there's you can do monitor only, and that just means it'll only play out of your speakers, and then monitor and output means that it will play out of your speakers on your computer or your headphones or whatever, as well as the output of OBS where it's getting streamed to. So in scenarios like mine where I have a microphone and I also have speakers that are independent of my headphones, anything that's being monitored will come out, get picked up on my microphone, and it'll form this kind of delay loop of sound that then gets streamed out to the audience, which you in most scenarios won't like. This thing over here with tracks, essentially each audio source can have up to 6 tracks that it's kind of recording into, and then you can primarily choose which one to be streamed. You can enable or de-enable all of those independently, depending on what you're using. Most of the time, I just leave them as is. I haven't had any super complex or issues with that. I guess I'm going to close that. And I'm just going to mute this one because I don't really need it. So we have that up there. That's kind of gone through some of the display captures, the audio. I did skip over video and images. Let me just show those real quick because those are real important. That's how you can get things like myself up in the corner here. So if I go to add, I'll go add image. I'll go ahead and add a copy of this image because I'm going to show you all how to do it. But I'm going to add a background to the whole thing. So again, background image, or it can be whatever you want it to be. I'm going to add this, and then it pulls up this window, and you can essentially just open up this little browser. There we go, and find what image you want to use. Find the local file. I think it was this one. Boom, right there. All right, I got this particular one off of LSU's website for Zoom backgrounds. But just like before, you can then take this and order it to wherever you want. So if I move this down underneath my text, that's there. If I move this all the way to the bottom, now everything's just on top of the background. And I actually am going to put that back to blue real fast because that is really hard to read. All right. You'll notice, though, it's still kind of hard to read. So I'm going to come back in a second and add some other thing, but I want to go over videos. So again, just go to add, and in this case, I'm going to do video capture device. I'm just going to leave this as video capture device 2. You then just select what device you want to use. So whatever you have plugged in here, you can set up. So I have my webcam plugged in. So now I see that. It's over here. you can set some presets or buffering to that. Do that, and then just like the other sources, you can move it around to whatever you need. You can resize things. I'm going to make this one a bit smaller. One fun tool that I definitely want to illustrate, you notice I've been resizing things by clicking and dragging these little boxes on the side. If you go in and hit, I'm on a Mac, so I'm hitting Option, and do the same thing, it will essentially crop the image instead of resizing it. So if you've, kind of like me, got a lot of background, you can just go in and remove a good chunk of that just by hitting Option and then clicking and dragging those resizing buttons right there. So that could be a way to, again, help frame your shots, arrange your sources a little more. If you're limited on space, you can set up things a little bit easier depending on where you need. Boom. The last two things I'm going to show in sources is a color source. And what this will do, you'll notice everything whited out and essentially just puts a square color element on the screen. You can set it to be whatever color you want, just like using the color filter. I'm going to leave this one as white. I'm going to then move this to be right underneath my text. And then I'm just going to resize it. And this is the thing I mostly use it for. Right there, and just essentially I'm just adding a background to my text there to make it easier to. That's not what I want to do. Make it easier to read. All right, that's annoying. So you gotta kind of shrink it up vertically, and then you can expand it out. Or okay, expand it out. You can shrink it. This is being mildly problematic. All right, you get the idea. I was attempting to resize it and then just using the option. There we go. For some reason, the option wasn't wanting to register on my keyboard. All right, so that's what I was trying to do. Just notice that some of this stuff was moving around as I was trying to click on here. One way to, once you get your everything set up, you'll notice these little padlock icons. And if you want to keep anything from moving, you can just padlock them, and then they won't move. So if I padlock color source, I'll also hit the text. You'll notice that that little box doesn't appear. I can't click and drag them around anymore like I could these things because they're locked. All right. So the very last one I'm just going to show off is do a browser capture, because this can also be useful. You just make a new one. It's thinking, and you can essentially pull up any web page you want. If I escape, if I were to go to here, this is just picking one randomly. Browser properties, and then just paste that there. Then it'll take a second to load. There we are. And now you have this window here with that's loading the web page up. You'll notice it's not going to be, it's not the same as just having it here in my browser. This is actually just loading up the web page here. It's you can't really interact with it, but if you have something online that you want to show, like maybe you have another stream or a URL or something, you can set that up and have a browser interface just right there. So I'm gonna hide some of that. And then I'm gonna go back to you. All right. So any questions about those? Those are some of the more. Yes, I have an answer. Hopefully.
How would make myself be upside down?
To be upside down, I believe you can set that up a few ways. Yeah, you filter. Is that under? Yes.
I think it's under transform.
I believe so. I just double checking it's not an obvious one there. I honestly, using this in an educational context, I haven't had a ton of reasons to turn myself upside down, but thank you, Chase. Yes, it's right under transform, and then you can have specific ones, or you can just pick the rotating things that way.
I was really hoping I could go wild style. You can only do.
I mean, there's a few, but you can edit transform.
I'll look in. Oh,
Yeah. But if you go to edit transform, and then you can, I'm going very slowly, but now I'm rotating around this way. You could again adjust all the crops if I wanted to move myself slightly up and add in a. Oh, it's not under that one. No. I say so. You can do it as you said, the wild style, and all of a sudden I've got this funky thing happening here, that's then getting streamed out to whatever. So you can have a lot of fun with it, and I definitely recommend exploring more with this on your own. Just for the sake of time, we're just kind of going over kind of briefly how you can do things. All right, do y'all want me to leave the scrolling on or turn it off? Because otherwise I'm probably going to get distracted, to be honest.
It's pretty distracting.
Yeah. It's fun, but got that closed. And then I'm just going to... I'll leave this. I don't think this is as bad. So any other questions about just how you can add and arrange sources in your little OBS workstation? I don't have this set up so I can see everyone, so speak up. All right. I've talked a little bit about the audio setup. Again, this is just like a source. Here, you're just adding it to the list, ordering it, things like that. Again, because they don't completely go away between different things, just I recommend just making several or having specific ones. If you affect a setting for one scenario and then pull up the audio track in another scene or another session, these settings could be different from what you want. And it could potentially cause problems. So one thing that's cool is just like the video and image sources, you can apply them to the audio as well. So if the ones that are built in, you have some compressor, limiter. I find the noise suppression good for if you're in a noisy scenario. I'll bring up the compressor, and then you can just affect all of this right here with the sliders. So I can adjust these things. I'm just kind of messing around a bit. So you should be hearing, you're probably going to be hearing me change here. When I talk about streaming, if you go to this URL, you would then hear this change in the stream. And actually at the moment, because of the compressor, this is getting real peaky in my Rode mic. So I'm going to actually turn that one off for the sake of the stream. But you can, again, affect all of this if I wanted to just add in noise suppression. They all have the default stuff going on there, but you can do a minimal amount of audio effects right here. You can also go in and add in some VST effects and plugins. So once you hit this, you can then just, these are all my ones I have right here, which doesn't make sense to have no performer in this list, but whatever. If you have VST plugins, you can add them and use them to affect your audio as well. So you can do a minimal degree of audio editing here as well. I wouldn't use this as like a primary DAW, but for the context of just collecting mostly video sources, you can do a fair bit right here. All right, any questions on that? Okay. Boop. Boop. I don't got to click. All right. So that kind of wraps up my talk just about general, again, sources, arranging them, how you can edit and change things. I say Dr. Allison was going to talk a little bit more about platform specifics and then getting into scenes. If you look kind of on this, I didn't just have over here full of different scenes or these transitions. So if no one has any questions on what I've been talking about, I'll kind of turn it over to Jesse for a little while.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and I'll stop sharing for just a moment.
All right.
If I can. Well, thank you. That way I can see everybody. I just want to ask a couple questions. So we've gone through so far and talked about how to basically set up your composition, right? Your on-screen, all the items and things you want to display, and then be able to set up an audio mix. And then if you notice down in the bottom right, there were the two buttons for start stream, right? And then there's one for start recording. So it's very easy at this point to just hit record and record whatever you want, right? Or hit stream and send it to a streaming service. We'll talk about distribution in just a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody's got that kind of in their heads properly, right? So you can set up the screen, you can get all of your assets into a display and then organize them the way that you want them to go. But that's very quick. Are there any questions on that front? Just so you know, if you're in the sources menu and you pull one of those things down and you don't find what it is you need, right? There are quite a few people who work on various plugins and additions, both audio and image wise, right? And let me share screen, and then we'll probably move over in just a little bit. But let's do that one first. Okay, y'all. Hopefully you can see this, the presentation. So this is what I wanted to step into first, and just to talk a little bit about sort of platform differences. There's not a huge amount of difference, like on the surface level, things work basically the same. In the audio side of things, and Chase, thanks for passing this on to me this morning, but there's an ASIO driver, actually. You can grab that from the presentation if you like. So if you're on the Windows side of things, you can get an ASIO driver, and what that module does, or plugin does, is it allows you to feed audio from a DAW or any other audio application. You set the driver to an ASIO driver, and then you can set this one as the input from that, and you can feed high resolution, high quality audio into your system. So you can be like performing in your DAW or something like that, you know, Ableton Live, whatever, and have that stream straight into OBS and then straight off into the world. On a similar note, it's also quite useful for us to use like either Soundflower or Black Hole on the Mac to be able to do inter-application audio, where your audio driver from one location just goes into this thing, and then it can be fed out into other applications, including OBS, which can then go out into the world, right? So like if you want to feed from Macs into a stream, then you can do that. So just as a heads up, those are not necessarily built in. Like they're not built in, so you might have to install those to be able to get audio to and from an application into OBS directly. Another one, and actually, Michael, you mentioned this earlier, is that if you want to stream video from one application to another, there are certain ways, mechanisms in the operating system that in both Windows and in Mac that allow for applications to capture windows from other applications, okay, to be able to stream video, stream a video game you're playing, stream stuff like that. ones that are built in are typically decent. However, on the Mac side of things, they're not necessarily hardware accelerated. And it tends it's really hard to keep up on this. Just if you hit the forums, you'll go down kind of rabbit holes about some operating or some versions of the operating system don't allow hardware access and some do, and et cetera, et cetera. Siphon and over on the PC side of things, it's a Spout. Sorry for the name of it. Yeah, Spout. Are ones that allow you to actually bring in a video image frame from the GPU, which means it's going to be as fast as it can possibly be. So before it goes to the CPU at all, it just takes the frame off the GPU and feeds it straight through to another application. So both of those are things you need installed outside of. But if you do have trouble with rendering, or it's not very fast, or you find that you can't get something from one application to another, then you might try out the Siphon or Spout. For me, I use an application called BDMX, which is like for live video processing, video kind of stuff. And using Siphon to bring things in and send things out is by far the snappiest, fastest way and highest res way to get things in. So I wanted to point those out because those can be important. I should say too that I don't use the Windows side of things. I haven't used it since Windows 7, I think was the last time. So last time I really used it, Windows platform. So if you have questions on that, I'm sure a few other people are meeting here will be able to answer those.
I just have one more addition for the Windows.
The recording, this meeting is being recorded.
I'm going to send a link in the chat. There's a product called Voice Meter Banana that also does Apple audio routing. There's some latency with it, but I think it's a very popular resource for streamers.
There's another one called Cable too, that you can get a free version that does 2 channels, or you can get a version that does 1. But there's basically an audio driver that allows inter-application communication. All right, so the thing I want to head into right here is just the way to take those compositions, right, and then to make them into more stream-friendly things. So you can actually kind of make your events move from different views, different angles, different content, and stuff like that you might want to do. Would you all like to work along with this, or do you just want me to go through and show notes?
Working alone.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, this is nice and easy. It's fairly quick. New share. I'm just going to share OBS Studio so you get that straight. Okay. Okay, so it should be this guy. It's just the OBS Studio that you're getting. Just want to make sure that's all set. Okay, you see well, that's good. So, this is a scene. Well, it's going to be where you can actually click on the top of these things and drag them to new locations. So I took my scene side of things and moved it up here along the side. And you can change the size of it and all that sort of stuff. But you can move those around if you like, or you can actually pop them out and have them somewhere else entirely if you like. With this, what we're going to do is go ahead and clear this out and make a whole new one. At the top menu, there's a thing for scene collection. And this is how, anytime you do a podcast or a stream, or whatever you're going to use for performance, if you just make a new one of these, it will benefit you greatly. Right? Just be able to keep organized with everything. You can recall it and set things back up the way you like it. So what I'm going to do here is just call one workshop. You can call this whatever you like. cleared everything out on my screen. And I've got this now. You can also set up kind of a streaming profile. That's another thing you can do, which will keep track of all of your streaming attributes, right? And you can save that and recall it whenever you want, jump between profiles to stream it, stuff like that. But for here, we've got a scene collection. And I've named it, and whatever we build here will just be saved automatically into that scene collection, so we'll call it one later. All right, so the first thing we've got is one blank empty scene. I don't know how this works on other people's, but I've tried to just use the little rename thing here. So like opening scene. And I find that it doesn't accept renaming the scenes. I don't know if that's just me or my version of OBS or if I'm Mac versus the PC or whatever, but that drives me nuts. So usually what I do is just forget that one entirely and start up a new one. So I'm going to do this and create a scene, and I'm going to call it like the opening logo or something like that. So I have a nice blank one. I've called it opening logo. And what I'm going to do is add a picture to it. I'd like you to do that as well. Add a picture on your hard drive somewhere. And we'll add a source of an image. I don't have one already set. You can create a new one. This is the best place to name it right here. Oh, so you can't see the pop-up right now?
No, because that's technically a different window, I think. So.
Okay, you're going to see a lot more then. Yeah, it's going to be very big. Is this too big to be able to use correctly? I think it might be. Let's swap it. And we'll see much more. Okay. Here's desktop one. You should be able to see all of this now. And when I have my opening logo scene, plus and add an image in. And this is where you want to rename it. So I'm going to say LOL logo.
I was gonna say, I think I was still on the. Oh, go ahead, Dick.
Yeah,
It's a great patch.
it is. It's classic. One more time. Here. That one work?
There we go.
There you go. So basically, delete this thing. Alright, yeah. Alright, so we added an image. I'm calling mine LOL logo. You can call yours whatever you like. You can rename the images later. For some reason, the scenes look different. And then you'll need to go ahead and find your image. Mine is round. Here we go. Okay, so I've got my image. Look around thing. If you like the black background or not, but if you like, you can add in a color in the background and set that. So once we've done that, we'll probably want to go ahead and add another scene. So, but that will be our opening one. This first one, which was blank, you can keep that if you wanted. You can delete it. I'm just going to delete mine, so I have my opening logo one, and I can add more scenes as I like. You just push plus, you're going to get basically a blank scene, and it won't copy things over. Just letting you know. So, for instance, if I want to show like my display, mine's going to be display 2, I guess. And it gives me a blank scene that I can work with. And I'm going to go ahead and select my other display, the one with the match badge on it. Throw in here. Display capture. This one I'm just going to say display 2. And I'm going to say max is the one that
It's trippy.
Yep. So right now it's on their own display. So switching over to the other one, that's the one I was looking for, which has all of this stuff, including you guys. Open. If you would like, we can set up a crop for it. So we can crop to a specific window. We can manually crop it, which is kind of nice. And you can set up those values. If you like, crop the right side maybe. I've actually set mine up to be 1280. No, yeah, 1280 by 720, so I could actually just crop it like that. If I don't crop it, I just want to show you what happens too. So if I say done and say the whole thing is there, you'll see that my window here, and let me make that a little smaller, or just scale it a little better. There we go. So you can see that this window actually is displayed here, but there's extra image that goes way off to the right hand side, and I can move this all around and look at different parts of the window. But what I've captured from the display is the entire thing, and I'm only being able to display a certain part of it, unless I'd like to scale it down. Right? And then you can make it smaller and display more of the display. But by default, it just displays regular size. Yeah, you get the picture. So if you'd like, you can just do a window, a part of the window instead of that whole thing. Probably a little more efficient to crop it for it, just the right size. There you go. Does everybody have one with a split? I'd like to add one more, just so we have a couple we can switch through and you can kind of see how this works. So I'm going to add another scene where I'd like to have my camera, and I'm going to go ahead and throw a zoom window in there. Share that too. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new scene. I'm going to say zoom plus camera, and add those two things as sources. So video capture device. And I should be able to pick which camera I'm actually using. That one. Great. And I should see my other non-background. Okay. And you can scale it to whatever region you want. I should mention too that one of the plugins, one of the video plugins that you can actually run here, the filters, is for Luma Keying. It might be Chroma Keying as well. But anyway, you should be able to actually pull out all of that. So I've got that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in the node image. That one is probably best to do the video.
Probably, I think window capture. I've done it before that way. Now I don't have to talk about it later.
So with the window capture, this is pretty interesting because there's all the main windows that I have open. There's a lot. This is not even all of the windows. So every once in a while you have something that does not show up in this list. And there is an item to check for show windows with empty names. And they end up showing all sorts of things. Things that are hidden, things that are, just play around with it. You'll end up seeing all sorts of stuff, little graphics and things like that. Here's the spotlight. For some reason, that's a window in and of itself. Anyway, but every once in a while, I have found something I wanted to screen that was not in the normal list, and I had to open up an unnamed window. All right, so here's our zoom. Yes. No, that's the other one.
No, it's I think it might be that one. No?
Yeah, that's.
What was it called?
I think because I'm sharing the screen, it's actually a little bit more. That's the chat. It's actually where the names ends up being the way to find it. Just to either, there's one. I'll go with that one. So you can see it created another window for this display. course, we could add other things in here if we wanted to, like the presentation or something like that to deal with it. But actually, I will show maybe one more of that web window if I present this there. I should be able to add that in as well as one more scene. Does anybody have any questions as they're adding these things in?
How persistent do you think some of these assignments are, like wanting to come back?
I've been surprised. So what I've been surprised at is that when I turn something off, like an audio, like unplug my audio interface, and it grays out and it's not available anymore. Or I using Zoom the other, and I set up as just using the Zoom window itself, like the screen, to share, and then I stopped that Zoom screen. Okay, that's done. And when I opened up another Zoom window, it popped right into the screen. And I've had my audio interface pop back up. So it does seem to be kind of resilient. Yeah.
Yes. One thing I've noticed, as you said, if I have, like I've done a few like emulator streams or whatever, and I'll just do a window capture for that. But if I close out the emulator at any point, the capture will still be there, but you'll have to go in and manually reselect the window when you open it back up. It won't. It'll be a different window. So that's just one thing you'll have to do doing with window shares, which isn't hard. It's just an extra step. See it.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to continue with this one. I'm sure we can find it. I'm sure it's in there. However, I kind of want to continue on here. So let's do one other thing that I think is kind of important. If we select any of these scenes now, you can actually just click on it and it will transition. By default, it's set up with a scene transition that will fade 300 milliseconds. You can kind of see that down here at the bottom right. You can set that to a couple different things, cut or a fade, and then if you want a duration between the three. There may be other ways to add other scene transitions in, but I haven't. That's what is actually going to happen whenever you click on any of these. If you'd like one of these scenes to be duplicated so that you can then make some edits to it and retain all the sources and stuff that are there, if you right click on it, you just duplicate it. And that, I'm going to say like animate logo. So now I have it. I can put that and forth between it, and I can add something else to this if I want. So for instance, maybe this one goes up there, and I add some text that says thanks very much. Oops. Thanks for coming. Here you go. Let's make that a bit smaller. Okay. Here we are. We have just something to add. So you can see that the scenes now, you can actually have different sources for each set. They can be duplicated if you want. So you can have the camera in multiple sets, and you can have the images in multiple sets, or the different desktops or windows and that sort of thing. That's really handy. When you're actually going to show this thing, though, there's one other thing that's pretty useful, and that is on the far right, there's a mode for studio mode, which which now, instead of letting you click and automatically streaming that thing, so like if you had a whole bunch of scenes or something like that for an entire show or whatever you're going to do, you might want to be able to see what you're doing next, and then click transition to shift it over to the actual stream or to the actual recording, right? So I can click on this, click on transition, and it will start. Makes sense? And again, you can switch the thing if you like. Also, that's not it. Fade to black. There we go. Yeah. It's very useful. So the next thing I wanted to show you all was the hotkeys. So to make it even more useful, you probably don't want to have to click and drag around to be able to make this thing do the show that you want to do. So to do this, you can basically set up hotkeys really quickly in the system settings. And I do want to talk about system settings a bit more, but there's this button down here, or I think up under file settings, it's the same thing. Do this. And you have lots of different settings that we can work with. We'll get into doing the screen settings in just a little bit. But right now, hotkeys, very useful. By default, it starts off with no hotkeys set up. I tend to like to add something in for the transition hotkey. And every time you make a new scene, it shows up in this list available to be adding hotkeys to, as well as every item, every source that we put into it also adds in. So it works out really well to do things like be able to put a key and switch to a scene. So for instance, the opening logo, maybe it makes sense to push 1, and all I have to do is click on the box and hit 1, and it shows up there. So when I push 1, it will jump to that scene. And it looked like display was the one that I was going to do, so 2 will be that one. Zoom and the camera will be 3. And then my ending logo will be 4. And then I went ahead and put the space bar as transition. But you don't have to do that, but you can. So very simple. But once you've done that, you can now just push the number you want, and then hit the space bar and flip through it. 2, 3, whatever. If you're not in studio mode, then when you push the 1, 2, 3, or whatever, it automatically just transitions to those positions. I'm going to go back to the hotkeys and show you one other thing that I find very useful. So, a couple things. One is that the hotkeys themselves, you can actually set up, I think it's in the general section, but whether or not the hotkeys ever turn off or if they stay enabled all the time. So it's possible for you to go to another application and be typing and accidentally switch your screen. So be careful with that. Don't want that to happen, then you can turn it off. find this one to be the best, the most useful way of doing it. I never did find the slides thing, but if I did, pretty easy. I hit OK. We come back to this. I guess I'll go to the third window, and now just holding down Shift and 1, 3. Huh. I'm going to use the settings again. Or sorry, studio mode. I hadn't run into this problem before. Interesting. Let me go back and look at it. Shift 1, Shift 2. This is not Shift. That shouldn't be affecting this. Interesting. This is how I like to set it up. I haven't run into this issue before. Did I change something new? No, it's not running. I'm not sure what's going on there. This should very easily toggle. Right. Why is that? For some reason, it's like take me over by 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's toggling it, but it's also switching the screen, or switching the display. And I hadn't had that happen. Interestingly. Well, I mean, it would be pretty easy to just switch between that and do something different for the other one. But that's really odd. Shift 2, Shift 4.
Do you have a full size, like, obviously you've got numbers above the letters, but on the right side of your keyboard, you have like a 10 key style keyboard?
I do.
You do? Do those numbers work differently or independently?
They are separate. They're actually
Right.
separate.
Well, I'm saying, so in these instances, would toggling those numbers do anything different?
Right now they do nothing because they work the same. Yeah.
Okay.
But I just set it to Shift 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's my scenes. And then Control 1, 2, and 3 is able to toggle that stuff. So not sure why the 1, 2, 3, and 4 were getting covered up, because that's usually how I like to set it up. But well, there it is. But that's it, and that allows me now to be able to do any streaming or recording stuff and be able to switch between things very quickly. We'll set up my keyboard. All right, those are the hotkeys that I wanted to just kind of display for you. Our next thing is actually, head over to Matthew. He's going to talk about that stream over to YouTube. We're going to get that set up. And then I'll talk about Twitch now.
Awesome. All right. Let me get my screen going again. Do, 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 do. All right. So share screen. I'm gonna pull open my. So I've got this window right here, and setting up the streaming is actually probably one of the easiest aspects of doing all of this. I mostly have done mine to YouTube because it automatically backs them up indefinitely. Um, it's again 100% private if you set it to be that. You can pretty much just set up everything. It works very well for the students, so I'm able to share it with them and make it interactable that way. So there's different ways you can do that. If you just go to the main page of YouTube, I will see all my nerdy video recommendations in just a second. Right here, you'll notice that you have the option to, under your name, assuming you have a Google account, you can just click on this and you'll either have a channel or the option to make a channel. So anyone who has a Google account has a YouTube profile, and that'll monitor your history of videos and recommendations and things like that. But it can't automatically post or stream videos. So you just have to say make a channel, and that's again just simple enough. You make a channel, and then once you are able to do that, you have your channel page, and you can set up all of the stuff. I'm not going to go into details about that. It's pretty straightforward, and you can look more into that if you want. But you'll notice you have this option up here for create a video or post, and if you click on that, you'll have the option. By default, it'll just say upload video. There's a few steps you have to go through in order to go live, but that's again relatively simple. But doing that will take you to the YouTube Studio. This is just kind of what monitors everything here, so you can see here's your dashboard with some stuff that they'll throw at you, and then some other analytics into too much detail. You can see all of your videos. So here's like all my videos. You can see once you start doing all of these, you can see all of your past live streams and things like that right there, and then a bunch of other things we can get into through there. All right. So you'll notice that if you hit create, if you want to try to go live and you've never done it before, let's say by default you go to the live streaming page. For me, it's just going to pull up my stream schedule, but for you have initially you'll have to enable your ability to stream, and to do that you essentially just have to verify that you have are a real YouTube account. You're not just spamming people. That's just a security thing. But then once you click through all of the stuff, which you should be able just to find that right in this streaming setup, or in the basic. That's not the view I wanted to see. Or through the settings in your dashboard down here. You can find all of that right there. And after that, it takes about 24 hours for everything to get approved and applied to your account. Essentially, you just have to have access to the servers to do this. And you're able to then stream. So if you want to go in, I won't go to this one. I'll make a new stream for now. That button. Boop, boop, boop. There's a few different options. You can stream. This is the main one we're going to do from a software like OBS. You can set it up if you have a built-in webcam to just stream directly from that webcam, but you don't get any of the features you get with the software. And then you can manage a bunch of them, so you can schedule a ton of different streams. So if you hit schedule stream, once you've gone through all the other stuff, you can reuse settings from past streams. I'm just going to hit create new. You can name your stream. You can set whether it's public, unlisted, or private. The majority of mine are unlisted because they're lessons for my students. So I just keep it as unlisted, so that way they don't get a bunch of spam comments, or if they comment on it, other people Can't see who all's in the class. But you can do that. I don't want to do that yet. You can add just what's the stream about, give it a specific category, just to help people find it easier, set the dates and the time. You can upload a custom image. If I wanted to, boom, there's this one here, and then set all the restriction things, and you hit create stream when you're done. It thinks about it, and then it'll pop up right here. So this stream, it's not going to actually be sharing anything until you go in and tell it to. All right, so if you wanted to click on it, you could go in. I'm going to go into this. I'll start here. So you can click on it. And pretty much it's not going to start things as we go through here. I've got some of these warnings. My Wi-Fi connection has trash upload speed, so sometimes you get a little bit of buffering when that happens. But you'll notice you get all that info right there. But you'll notice you get the Connect streaming software right here. So to get all this live stuff going, you have to tell OBS where to go in order to. It's straightforward. Things are getting connected. I'm actually going to go to my other stream. Yeah, for this. I just don't want things to overwrite. I don't want things to overwrite. There we go. So I've been streaming my output here. So if you wanted to check out what actually got streamed after we're done, you can have access to that on your own right here through that URL. But pretty much once you go in and you want to stream stuff, if you go to settings and stream, you'll notice there's a few things right here. Mine at the moment are grayed out because I am outputting a stream. When you're doing that, you can't affect settings. You have to stop all of your output for that. But pretty much what you need are a few things. There's a drop-down menu here as to where you are streaming. There's a few ones automatically, YouTube, Twitch, other popular servers, Facebook Live, things like that. Or you can set up a custom one. If there's multiple servers, you can specify which server at that service you want. But then you'll notice there's a stream key. And this key is important. This is what this pretty much locks down your channel from getting anyone else to be able to stream to it. It's a very long, complex, and symbols. But without this, you can't stream to your channel. And if anyone else has this, they can stream to your channel. So you don't want to show this to other people here. But you'll notice if you go to YouTube, your stream key, and you can just copy that, and you just paste it right into the. Once you do that, you have this this button right here for when it's not toggled. It'll just say Start Streaming, and you click that, and it will start to connect up to your right here under YouTube. Once this connects, you're then able to say Go Live up here, and then it starts to go, and all of your content is getting collected on OBS, arranged, processed, all of that, and then it's sent through the internet to YouTube right here. And then you can just go right up and share this URL. So if I wanted to, I could copy that, open up actually I had it saved right here. You can just open this up, and people can see this, they can chat in real time, go from there. I'm going to mute myself because I don't feel like talking over myself. So that way you can, again, everything I'm collecting on my desktop is now going to YouTube, and I can share that with people. You can see it is buffering just because my connection, like I said, has a very bad upload speed. That's how you can do that. You can adjust latency depending on how quickly you want to respond to people in the chat or whatever. It depends on buffering and things like that. Auto starts and settings of this nature. If you have a caption, want to set that up, you can affect it. You can see how many people are checking out the stream over the course of it. And then just the overall health, which mine is not. My stream has COVID. It's not very healthy. So we have that going on. And that's essentially the meat and potatoes of streaming to YouTube. What you just need to make the stream, which again, once you've made your channel and enabled streaming, you can just go in and say go live, and it pops up. You can enter in all of the information you would need right there. Hit save. Just make sure that under your settings, you have. I realized you all weren't able to see my stream. No, you could see my stream settings. I'm doing that. You just make sure that it's going to the right place, and you have your custom stream key. This will be different either for your channel or for your specific stream. That depends a little bit on the service. So like for right now, generally these are the same, but if I had multiple streams set up in YouTube, I could generate different stream keys, so that way I'm sending data only to one at a time. Just once you get that, you hit start streaming. It's going to keep going until you either hit stop streaming, and then it's going to stop sending the data to your stream, or then you hit end stream and it just shuts it off. Afterwards, let's see, I'll open it up in this tab. Afterwards, if you go to your YouTube studio, unless you tell it to turn it off, you can see all of your past live videos right here. So if I wanted to pull up this one I did last night to help one of my undergrad friends with colleagues with a project for streaming, you can see everything I did right here, and you can have it all play back in real time. That's not what I thought I had on the screen all the time. Oh, wait, this is the test file. Never mind. Anyways, that's why you should name things different things. But anyways, the point is you can play back your different streams after the fact. That's the one I wanted to show. But so I could play it back whenever. You can see the chat replay as we go along, and it basically can just be played as much as you want. And that's pretty much, again, everything with going into YouTube and streaming that way. So you don't have any questions about how to achieve that, or was anything I said not super clear? It's pretty much what I went through right here, but in more words. Go for it. Oh yeah, we're I didn't realize we were getting a little short on time.
Yeah, I mean it's real simple. Basically, I'm going to walk through the same steps really quickly because it duplicates everything that you just did. There we go. So if we're doing the streaming to Twitch, basically you just need to sign up and validate your email so that they know it's you. That your email you use is your two-factor authentication and approve it. And then you just need to get your primary stream key. And to do that, like this is LSU EMDM, Twitch.tv, LSU EMDM, and nothing's going on. You click up here, you can look at your channel and all that sort of stuff. But if you go to your dashboard, which I pulled up, just a little rotation, settings and channel, it has all your information, including your primary stream key, which you just copy. Never share this with anybody else.
Right. Never.
Otherwise, people can stream on your account, and that's not good. There's lots of other things you can set up as you like. Just when it records it, archives it, how long, and all that sort of stuff is good. There's also an entire section here for people who can stream on your channel. So if you are like a collective, like EMDM, we can actually have a section here where we we connect you to our account and allow you then to share. So we're going to end up doing this a bit with LOL Spider, but that's one of the things that's kind of convenient about it. I'll show you some other stuff that's convenient about it too. This is it. You basically get here, you copy it, you head over to OBS, to do that, you just hit start streaming, and it starts streaming the account. So why not? If I hit OK and then say start streaming, then that's it. If I hop over to the Twitch channel, this should pop up under any moment. There it goes. And it's a little bit. There you go. So along with that, I just wanted to show you one other thing that might be useful, right? So maybe in here, and now switch to the first one. There we go. Cut it out. We may want to do something in display 2 where we stream some audio from that, and I just thought you might want to see this entirely. The audio mixer right here is empty, and if I want, I can add in audio streams. But I wanted to show you over here in settings under audio that there's a section here where you can set things like sample rate and stuff like that. You can turn the desktop on and set it to be default, or for me I have SoundCloud installed so I can use that. And then there's these mic auxiliary audio. You can see that the normal ones, there's not much available to you as an audio device. And this actually has trouble feeding audio from applications into OBS. When you click one of your mic or auxiliary audio, that's where you get your actual setup of any audio interfaces and stuff like that that are set on there. But I'm going to go ahead and set here, and if I did the built-in microphone or a different microphone, I can actually route it in from there, or an audio input in any of the audio interfaces. But I'm going to set mine up to be Soundflower for this one. And if you see this and I hit OK, you'll see now that they pop up in my audio mixer. And this is over on my other screen. If I'm going to kind of head over here and I turn the DAC on, this one I actually have set up as going out Soundflower, which means right now I can't hear it. I might crash it. Yay, I made it. Okay, but I should be able to bring it up. And the live stream will actually be getting this. So, for me, I'm just starting to hear it because of the delay through my live stream. If I wanted to hear it live, then I would need to set up another advanced audio property, which is over there, and set the monitoring to be able to actually now I can actually hear the original, plus I'm hearing the live stream one coming out of the way. That can be very necessary. Show you one last thing that's useful about on the Twitch side of things. There are others that can do this as well. I've recently learned that Zoom, you can do this where you embed your Zoom stream into a website. If you want to, check it out. I had set this up a while ago with gravity.emdm.io. And if you go to that website, you'll see that our stream is there. I had set it up so that Anthony and I live stream. But the code to do this is actually really quite simple. Twitch and some of the other providers as well embed or allow you to configure that necessarily have to have a Twitch account. They can just go to the website and they can get the live stream or go feed it. We can also stick it on our own EMPM website and have it be live there. Whether or not I'm also streaming somewhere else, or like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, not such a big deal. It's just that it's nice to be able to send people to our site and watch it. Cool.
Awesome. I will say you can do this stuff with YouTube, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to mention that. Just Google how to embed a YouTube video, and that'll walk you through everything you need to know.
Yeah. Streaming to other services, it's the same thing. You just need the key, and then you can go for it from there. Nice and easy. The recording of files, I'll just show you one last thing, and that's in the settings. It's nice and easy to set up the output, and you can set it up. I think by default it's set to the. I should turn off streaming.
Yeah, you can't change the settings like that when it's streaming.
You can set up the simple setup is nice and easy. It has a streaming setup and a recording setup. So usually to a file, you can put it, you want to choose it, MP4, MOV, kind of stuff like that, depending on what you have installed on your machine. The defaults are just fine. If you go to the advanced setup, you can do some crazy stuff. Streaming side of things, how many audio tracks and stuff, the rate, all that kind of thing. With the recording side of things, you can set up with a bunch of different recording elements or whatever. In this one, I've set it to do a custom output to FFmpeg, and then I stream that to a specific URL, and then I can actually bring that into another application like a VLC or OBS or that kind of thing. So like, there's a ton of flexibility here as to things you can do. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that it's there, but by default, the nice and easy stream it to a file, put it in the disk, you've got a local copy of it. I think that's all we had. Any other questions or thoughts or?
You were going to send out jitter in the video to streamable. Would you recommend setting up the Siphon server fresh, or just trying to find it in this list and pull straight out of that?
You can go straight from the window.
Right.
Like if you use not the key window, but the JIT window, you can pull straight from that. However, what's happening with the JIT window is it's rendering in a GPU off-screen buffer, and then it actually scales it and resizes it and resamples it for whatever size the window is on the screen. So unless it's the exact same size, you're already going to get a performance hit. And if it isn't, or if it whether or not it's the exact same size, it's already shuffling it onto the screen, and then you're grabbing it. If you're using Siphon, it grabs it unadulterated straight from the frame buffer on the GPU, and it's going to go much faster. I've that using jitter streaming into MediaMax, and so that's definitely the way that I'll work. Yeah, it's really good stability is what I'm trying to say. When things crashed, it was my fault. That's what I'm trying to say. I will say that we're in kind of a Wild West world right now, and if you're able, we don't have a lot of venues for experimental music, and we need more. And you're saying, so like if we're able to perform in an arts gallery or something like that, or perform in a concert hall, or perform, those are great venues for us to perform. But if we're also able to perform out of our own home and send it out to the world over the internet, we're going to reach a lot of people. A lot of people wouldn't be able to be exposed to your music, your art, all that earlier. So, for one, it's great in interesting because it's not being done. That's all there is to it. Later on, it'll have to have its own merits, but right now, I still have. Who knows? You know, create a page, sell swag. I don't know. Have people subscribe to your stream. I really have no idea. But I do know that it's pretty possible and way easier, more stable than it's ever been before. So.
Mhm.
I guess we'll go ahead and stop here. I think we're going to end up with a lot of learning stuff with the laptop orchestra and really music marathon and stuff this semester. So, stay tuned.